Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. Today, we're going to be talking with Christina McAllister, a senior analyst at Forrester who specializes in the world of customer service and support. Specifically, we're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about contact centers. This woman is brilliant, and I believe it will be a wonderful conversation. And when we talk about contact centers, I just want to add that sometimes people think this is a large room or a large group of people that answer questions. You need to be a larger company. No, you might have one person dedicated to customer support. You need to listen to this episode. All right, before we get into the interview, a quick announcement. If you have an amazing story or a question that you want to ask, please reach out to me on any of the social channels because I am pretty much everywhere. Just ask the question and use the hashtag AskShep. I'll answer the question right there in the social channel. In my newsletter, the Shepherd Letter, and if you haven't subscribed to that, just go to hyken.com, HYKEN.com. And when you fill out the little subscription box, it's free, by the way, you will also get a download of my annual customer service and experience research at no charge. It is a wonderful resource sponsored by our good friends this year at Ring Central. All right, let's jump into the interview. Christina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I love Forrester. They feed me so much great research and have been doing so for many years. And I've talked to a number of people over there. But you are the senior analyst at Forrester that helps customer service and customer experience leaders transform their strategies and capabilities in the age of the customer. I read that right off the bio. But why don't you give us a little bit more insight as to what you do over there?
Yeah, for sure. I cover customer service contact center under our customer experience service or team, if you will. And I spend my days giving advice to senior leaders with their contact center strategies, customer service strategies, and working with folks on the vendor side as well to improve products and services that are in the contact center.
Right. And, the contact center at one point, and I still believe it's somewhat true. We do research every year. I have my customer service and experience research this year sponsored by our good friends at Ring Central. And there's the good, the bad, the ugly, and the interesting. And 43% of customers would rather clean a toilet than call customer support. I think part of that
shock me. Yeah.
It doesn't shock you. I also have one about going to the dentist and speaking in public. And what's interesting is I think if we were to erase the past and look at this point moving forward, I don't think the experience is as bad as it used to be by the numbers. I mean, there's still laggards out there that aren't keeping up with what technology can do. But would you agree with that? It's getting better.
I think there's pockets of better for sure. I think that it's still expensive to run a contact center. It's maybe more expensive than it's ever been to run a contact center. But as far as the ability to resolve customer issues and the focus on customer experience, I think that's getting better.
All right. So you just said something that's contradictory to something I believe in. I'm not going to argue about it, but I want to know where you're coming from. And that is, you said it's becoming maybe more expensive. And as I work with all these different vendors that create cloud solutions and software, the cost of moving into AI today compared to what it was 10 years ago, it's night and day. When I was working with IBM years ago and they had their Watson product, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today, if I've got a contact center or if I've got even two people that handle customer support, I can bring in a solution that's maybe a couple $100 per person per month, maybe even less, maybe more, depending on what it is, that will bring in some AI solutions, help manage the digital experience better, and transfer me the customer when necessary. Yes, no, maybe?
I think it's a maybe, in the sense that people have gotten more expensive, like wages have gone up.
Obviously, yes.
So like it is more expensive than it's ever been to just have human beings in your contact center. And yes, AI is getting better than it used to be. I started my career in one of the, I guess, chatbot precursors. It was NLP search. It was in the early days.
An LP
And
search meaning language protocol search.
natural
LP.
language processing. So
Yeah.
like it was a chatbot without the like bot window in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen.
Uh-huh.
It was before we figured that part out. And it
Now you're
was
dating yourself. No,
a little.
actually, that wasn't all that many years ago. Maybe.
No, it was yeah, I mean, we've been at this for a minute. And when I think about the kind of effort to build out a system from like you were talking about when you were talking about IBM Watson, the effort to build out those old kind of AI systems in the contact center was really, really high. And it was really expensive to kind of ongoing maintenance and all of that kind of thing. And it still costs money today, but I would say that the effort to build and optimize and maintain is a lot less, which is great. The barrier of entry is lower
Yeah.
for most companies, but people still cost enough money.
Well, no doubt about that. And I think people are worried, and I'll ask this question later on, but they're worried that, is the contact center human agent? Are they going to become eliminated? Are they going to shrink down? I'll get to that in a minute. But what I want to know now is everything's changing, and it's changing so fast. Just as we are doing this interview coming up in November of this year, I think it's maybe 2 years since ChatGPT
Almost
became
three.
recognized. It's 3 years. Okay. See, I'm off by a year,
Or
but
maybe
that's all right.
I'm wrong. But I think it's like we're getting in on quite a bit of time. It's
But still, it's only 3 years since we've been able to go online as regular people without having this incredible technology background and being able to create an experience where we can ask a question, get an answer, and it talks to me like it's very human-like. And it's not if they ask this, then here's an answer. Which is very frustrating because if the computer doesn't have the answer, it just throws out wrong answers. That's the way it used to be. Today it gives you good answers, and the best systems recognize, hey, I can tell by the customer's response, I didn't give them the answer they wanted. Let me try again. Or it's time to transfer this person to a customer support agent. And the best part is when the agent gets it, you know better than I do because you work with all these different companies and analyzing what's going on. The agent says, oh, I see you've been interested in whatever the problem was you were interacting with the bot. And it's seamless.
It should be. And
It's
you
a
were right. It
beautiful
was 2
thing.
years. I double checked. Sorry, readers or listeners at home. My
It
bad.
was 2 years?
Yeah, you were right. My mistake.
Oh, I love when I hear that. Say it one more time because my wife never says this. You're
I
right.
was wrong. I
No,
apologize.
I don't want you to be wrong. It just seems like it hasn't been that long.
No, I know. You're right. I don't know what I was giving it extra credit. My mistake. But
Well, it's been around for a long time. It just
yes.
hasn't hit the public like it has, and the cost didn't come down. I mean,
Yes.
that was a barrier.
There's been
for
major
so long.
improvements in the last
Yep.
little bit. But as far as the thing that was so frustrating with the old chatbots is that there was like 2 steps. You had to figure out everything that a person was going to ask and all the variations of that. And that's hard to do because people are not that easy and simple. There are lots of ways to ask a question. And then on the other side, you needed to have the content or the knowledge, if you will, to give them the answer. And from a Gen AI perspective, if we look at like the large language models or Gen AI models, it's not going to create well, I guess it could if you ask it to, but it's not going to invent knowledge that does not exist, or it will if you don't point it right, which is the whole hallucination thing. But at the end of the day, it's so much easier to understand what customers are asking and to answer them in a satisfying way. And when you do hand it off to an agent, if that is required, the ability to summarize exactly what went on, so the agent doesn't have to read up in this really long transcript with the bot and that sort of thing, that's easier than it's ever been. That's maybe the easiest thing you can do. And that you can feel the improvements right away when you don't have to, wait for an agent to basically like say, how can I help you again? Repeat yourself. There's just a lot less of the need for that.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting times in this world of customer support. And I'm writing an article right now working with the company, and it's pretty cool. I believe this is his comment. It's not about customer support, it's customer engagement now.
Yes,
Because
I
when a
believe that.
human talks to another human, it's because something couldn't get handled through technology. And now we get to prove we're good, and we get to enhance the relationship with credibility, creating confidence, and maybe even an opportunity to ethically upsell and cross-sell when we truly understand what the customer needs. Because that's another thing AI can do. It can analyze that customer's needs, and the customer doesn't even know they need what it is that they need. But it can be compared. I guess my favorite example is if you've got 1,000 customers that all are the same, basically somebody calls and they're not quite as mature in that customer relationship, it could say, hey, this customer's like lagging. And example of that is when we were talking to, I won't tell you the name of the company, but the initials were AT&T. And great experience. We got a new phone and we're talking to the person, and I just got an alert. You're paying too much. I can get you a better now. When I can get you a better monthly deal. Okay, what's it really going to cost me? Oh, no, 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 no. It was great. We saved $50 a month on my family plan times 12 months a year.
No, I mean, it's not nothing.
No, that's not nothing. And it's all because they spotted this with an alert, and it just, guess what just happened? You're going to hear words that maybe people don't utter often. I love AT&T.
Well, there you go.
So you have this concept or this thought that leaders have FOMO, the fear of missing out, and are rushing to get their houses in order to be able to deploy the latest Gen I and technology to create a better support experience. Talk to me a little bit about that before we hit the break.
Yeah, for sure. I'll borrow a quote from a colleague of mine, Julia Osk, and she had an interview with someone that was talking about leaders are suspended between FOMO, the fear of missing out, and then FOMO, the fear of messing up. So there's this kind of tension that they want to get in on this game, but they don't necessarily, they're nervous about various things, whether it be the, trusting these systems, getting their integrations in order. But the things that we found from a contact center perspective that's really interesting is really around, there have been these long neglected foundations in the contact center that there's always been a good reason to invest in them. Things like knowledge management, no bad reason to have accurate and up-to-date knowledge. And that is fully required to power Gen AI. You need to have a consistent, trustworthy knowledge source. Things like a modern agent workspace, so that, like you were saying earlier, when things get handed over to an agent, that they have the ability to consume those AI insights from like a summary or something like that. Or, for example, hey, this person is eligible for a much lower bill on their monthly phone plan. But then also things like understanding what like agent workflows, which sounds kind of silly. Like, of course, we know what agents do every day, but a lot of contact centers don't. They don't have the right technologies to observe what it is that, like, which exact steps everyone takes and that sort of thing. And then eventually we're going to have to rethink about, and this is probably something we could chat about after the break, but thinking about future-proofing our metrics. Once we start helping agents with AI, and once we start pulling all of these things in, does it really matter to be squeezing average handle time? There's not going to be that much, meat on that bone once we start automating a number of the steps that agents take with AI. So then what should our metrics be? What should we be thinking about? That would need to change as well. So there's a lot of things that I would say have always needed to happen. But this is Gen AI has finally given folks a reason to make meaningful investments here, and that's exciting.
Right. The fear of messing up. And I think part of the fear of messing up is a leader is afraid they're investing in something that's going to be obsolete in 6 months or a year.
That.
And I think that's...
Are they jumping too soon? Will the next model show up and, blast ChatGPT out of the water?
Right.
They've also, just finished investing in NLP, and now it's basically obsolete. And they're looking like, look, I just invested how much money to get that up and running. And now basically you can step into anything and get ahead of what I had spent the last 7 years building.
Right. And the cool thing, you spent the last 7 years building, it will take, in some cases, 7 weeks to rebuild. It's not like you have to, it's amazing what's happening. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, you just mentioned two things. I want to go back to knowledge source, and I also want to talk about future proofing the metrics. You know, that whole idea of average handle time, where agents are measured on how long, or actually, they're actually
How
bonused on
short?
how
Yeah.
short the call is and
Yeah.
penalized for how long the call is. We're going to talk about that and why I believe, and I think you and I are in sync with that's going to go away completely. All right, everybody, we're talking with Christina McAllister, and she is the senior analyst at Forrester, and we will be right back. Don't go away. Shep Hyken here with an offer that won't cost you a cent. You may have heard me talk about my annual customer service and experience research. We've surveyed thousands of customers matching the U.S. Census for age, gender, ethnicity, and geography, and we find out what customers love, hate, and want in a customer experience. What's the number one customer experience that almost every customer desires? What makes them come back? What makes them leave? Why won't they fill out surveys? What do they think of AI? Well, these questions and more are answered in the research, which, by the way, is sponsored this year by Ring Central, a leader in global communications. You can download the full report by going to hyken.com and clicking on the research tab at the top. Like I said, it won't cost you a cent, but it may make you or save you thousands and thousands of dollars when you understand your customers' expectations. Again, the website is www.hyken.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We're back on Amazing Business Radio, talking with Christina McAllister, a senior analyst at Forrester. We're talking about all things related to AI and customer service and experience. One of the comments you made, and I wrote it down, and then we got sidetracked a little bit with the whole, I got overwhelmed with this idea of future-proofing metrics. But knowledge source, the computer, the technology, the AI needs to have a good source of knowledge. And I think one of the coolest things that companies are doing now, and I'm going to go all the way back to the 1970s, okay? My sister, who is an off-the-charts brilliant person with a IQ that's like unbelievable, was hired by, I believe it was IBM, to rewrite software manuals so average people could understand them. Okay, so imagine that you've got this very highly technical manual on anything. Could be software, it could be, how to do whatever. It doesn't matter. And you just dump that into the machine, the AI. And the AI today has the capability of understanding it. And based on not only my level of sophistication with that issue or product, it can determine that by the type of question I'm asking. It can also, if I'm misspelling things as I'm typing it out, it can fix that. If I speak in a completely different language, it doesn't matter. It'll answer me in that language. And it's only going to pull from that knowledge base that was in the original manual of that product. I don't know about you, but I'm like amazed at that.
It's hard to not feel like it's magic, even though it's math, right? It's
Right.
just a model, but it is a really impressive piece of technology, especially compared to what we've been used to, where you had to predefine all of what it would know and everything that it would say. There's a lot more variance, and at the end of the day, you never know what the long tail is going to be when there's a bunch of different questions or folks are asking about like different things in context to what they're experiencing, and the answer should be a little bit framed differently compared, based on what they're asking. And now we have the ability to do that with these models, assuming that you have pointed it at the appropriate knowledge, which isn't a guarantee, but it is important.
But it starts that way. And here I'll quote Arthur C. Clarke, who appeared in a 1962 book about profiles of the future. Here it is. And you may have heard this. Any sufficiently advanced technology, and this is a word you just used, is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
It is. I mean, when my younger sisters, I'm an English major, and I would edit some of their work when they would do various things like, proposals and that. And now I don't have to, because the magic editor of ChatGPT can do it.
It does a pretty good job, but I have Grammarly, and then I'll throw something into a ChatGPT. Does this make sense? Is there anything left out? And it starts correcting what Grammarly said is right, it changes it back to
Yeah,
what.
I mean, some of that
So,
is but if what you have is writer's block, it's great.
yeah, if you have writer's block, and this is like, like sausage. How do we make it in the sausage factory? If I have writer's block, you know what I do? I go on to Google. I say, give me all of the articles about whatever the topic is, customer service experience, whatever AI. In the last, 24 hours, I don't even read the articles. I just look at titles.
No, I mean, and some people are really good at a title, and
Yeah.
that's enough
Yeah.
for
Title is enough to get
inspiration
my
for sure.
brain started. All right. So we talked about knowledge rush, but I want to get into this. The metrics. Average handle time has been a big deal in the customer support world.
The biggest deal.
Yeah. And I read some work that was put out by a gentleman named Jim Bush, who at the time was the senior VP worldwide of customer support at American Express. And then I interviewed him, and he said they threw that out the window. This is 10, 12 years ago. They said average handle time isn't as important as the NPS score, okay, which is net promoter score, the likelihood that after the interaction, would you recommend this company based on how he took care of you? That's not exactly the question, but that's a description. So I believe, tell me what you think, that the digital experience has become really, really good, that so much can be handled in me jumping on a computer, asking a question, and I'm on the website and I'm getting the answer that I don't need to talk to an agent. But when I finally do talk to the agent, if I need to, it's a bigger problem that needs to be managed. And at that point, I think that the agent, number one, is to more than anything, resolve my issue, deepen my relationship, and create revenue for the company, either by not just saving me as a customer, but by recommending products and services that maybe I don't know that I need, which we kind of alluded to earlier.
Yeah. The average handle time is not a customer experience metric. In my view, the only thing that average handle time really does is help you understand staffing, right? Like understanding how long calls take so that you know how to staff appropriately. But it doesn't, I don't believe, obviously you don't want to waste the customer's time. You start treading into like taking longer than you need to. But outside of that, it's not keep an eye on it, but it's not a measurement that you would incentivize the agent against, I think. From a standpoint of like, what do customers care about? They care about resolution. They just want their issue resolved. That's why they called. That's the only reason that they called. They would have done it themselves if they could have, or they don't know how to do it themselves, or whatever. Or they want the assurance in healthcare, for example. Sometimes they just want to hear it from a person that they've done things right and that everything is taken care of. And there's a need for that human, assurance in that case. But more and more, I'm hearing from folks that are wanting to shift into more kind of like blending service and revenue engagement, like you mentioned earlier, thinking more about it as an engagement model as opposed to just a service or support model. And I think that once you start chipping away at the interactions that agents take today, you kind of have two paths. You can basically say, great, and then lay off all of your staff, which I don't think you can kind of tell that that's not what I think is the right move to make. Or you can reallocate some of those folks to having different kinds of conversations. The example, I'll give you guys an example. There's a health system out of Texas that successfully automated post-ER discharge calls. So folks would call and say, hey, did you pick up your prescription? Did you schedule an appointment with your PCP? And that was obviously expensive and time consuming and all of that. But they have automated that through a voice bot. And now they can use those same folks to call the patients or members who have not picked up their prescription, not scheduled an appointment with their doctor, to figure out why. Is it because they have a mobility issue? Is it because they can't afford it? There's programs for that, but they need to know and have that conversation to get there. So that it's more about like deepening the engagement, deepening that trust with the customer. And that's really important and worth spending your people on, I think.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a Panera Bread or
have.
Panera? I said Panera Bread. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Panera. Panera. It used to be St. Louis Bread Co., which is where Panera started many years ago. Anyway, the reason I bring this up isn't because I'm hungry, but because they put these little kiosks in so that you no longer had to go to the counter. But they still had people at the counter, okay? But most people are learning to go over to the kiosk because there was never a line at the kiosk, right? And you put it in digitally, you put your phone number in, and then they knew who you were as a customer and all that. And I asked the manager, wow, is your goal to eliminate people going to the counter? They go, oh, no, no. As a matter of fact, we put these in and we have not eliminated any of our staff. What the staff is doing now is they're running food out to people. They're talking to them a little bit more. They're engaging, and it's just a better people-to-people experience. And that was the manager's explanation. And I love that because what you just said is some companies are thinking, well, maybe we can do it 100% digitally and eliminate people. And so do you feel that we're at a point in time that that can actually happen?
So there was once a time that a senior leader at a very large bank in the US said that the average customer talks to them like 2 to 3 times a year. And that's probably true for me with my bank. That's probably true for most folks, 2 to 3 times a year. And what I kind of think about when I hear that is it is an enormous bet to make to basically say, I want the number to be 0. You never want to talk to your customers again. You're giving up a huge opportunity. The contact center is often the only place that anybody from your company is speaking one-to-one with a customer. If you imagine kind of like the amount of money you're spending in marketing and to talk to customers more and the amount of money you're spending in customer service to never talk to customers again, like something is wrong with that picture, I think. Like that's insane to me. So if they knew, and I obviously these people know what they're doing, but like if they looked at it like that, I think that the math wouldn't math out for them, obviously. But I think that can you do better at automating interactions compared to what we had with previous versions of AI? Yeah, you can. Automation or integrations are easier to handle, not easy for all companies, but they're easier. And the models are stronger and better and faster to deploy, like you mentioned earlier. So that's true. Is it going to be like super fast? Enterprises don't move fast. So it'll take some time to get to that point. But I think that there's just a big mistake in giving up the opportunity to talk to your customer. I feel like that's a disadvantage from a differentiation and competitive standpoint, but we'll see how that plays out, I guess.
Yeah, and to your point with eliminating the average handle time is a metric. It's really about, let's talk about what the engagement looks like,
Sure.
How happy that customer is at the end of whatever that interaction is about. And, did we move the needle on the relationship to where they stay with us, buy more, buy longer over a period of time? Wow. I can go on and talk to you about this. As you know, I can tell you and I are like kindred souls, I think is the way to say it. But let's wrap up with my favorite question to always wrap up an interview. What one last nugget of wisdom would you love to share with us before we wrap up today?
I think it would be in the contact center, we have often spent a lot of time basically chasing efficiency gains. And what I would recommend to anybody who runs a contact center, anyone who is responsible for making decisions about customer service, is that they should think about efficiency gains as a resource rather than the end goal. Yes, deploy AI to shave off some time that your humans are spending that should be spent in different ways, but go and spend it in different ways. Reallocate those cost savings to more meaningful engagement programs like sales, like deepening relationships with your customers. I think it'll be a differentiation point. I think it'll be competitive advantage for folks in the future, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people do.
Yeah, and the customer will be happier.
And the customer, I would like all the brands that I work with to do
right.
this.
And when one day when we ask, would you rather clean a toilet or call customer support? They'll go, what are you talking about? What's wrong with customer support? Wouldn't it's a lofty goal, but a good one.
Exactly. We'll chip away at that percentage, I think, bit by bit.
Yes, we will. Well, Christina McAllister, you are amazing, and this is why we call it Amazing Business Radio. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode. We'll be back next week with another amazing interview. Until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.